Are you seeking to understand who you are, what you want from life, and where you fit into this busy world? The Man That Can Project Self-Discovery Program is the program to help you answer those questions. This program with 3 comprehensive modules helps you get clear on who you are as a man, what you want from your life, and where you can set yourself up to thrive. Throughout this program, you're going to dive deep on some of the life's questions that only the most successful people ever spend time to answer. It's not only about standing out in this busy world, but it is using your life experiences to create a better life for yourself. I know that I wish I had this when I started my journey. It would have helped me fast track success and get clear on what was truly important. Once you complete this program, you're going to have a better sense of direction and purpose for your life. You will have more confidence and resilience and a complete roadmap to create the life that you want. Don't wait for tomorrow. Start today. Head over to themanthatcanproject.com and check out the self-discovery program. I can promise you, your life will never be the same.
Thanks for stopping by again. Excited for another episode. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Jordan and then also a couple of solo episodes that have been there. I had an incredible time in Australia. The workshop was incredible. The time with my family and friends was incredible. And I'm very excited because I'm going to be heading back to Australia at the end of September. As you know, I did mention last week, I'll be stopping via Hawaii. So very excited to check that out. Plenty of travel happening. One thing that I am proud of at the moment is maintaining my training for the 58 to 58, which is going to be announced very shortly, which is a big event that I'm kicking off on the 1st of February next year. So very excited for that one. And I'd love you guys to think about a humble brag or a win that you've had over the last 7 days. And if you do want to share it with me, send me a message on Instagram or Twitter or wherever, or whichever social platform you like using. I love using them all, but mainly active on Twitter and also Instagram. Today's guest, you're probably wondering, who could it be? Matthew Day. Now, Matty and I, as you'll hear, and I won't give it all away, but we met in Europe last year, both representing Australia in obstacle course racing. Now, in this episode, what you can expect to learn is how traveling can be a transformative experience that allows for self-discovery and personal growth. The conditioning from school can create limiting beliefs and hinder our personal growth, and why living authentically means aligning our actions with our core values. So Matty is a really deep thinker, and we have probably every 4 to 6 weeks, we'll jump on the phone and just have a hugely in-depth conversation, which I thoroughly enjoy. He blows my mind every time we talk with just how he takes very, challenging ideas and breaks them down so that anyone can understand. And we go through a number of those today. So make sure you grab yourself a pen and a notepad for this one. You'll learn an immense amount. It was a fun conversation to have. So that's going to be enough from me. And remember, if you're enjoying these episodes, please take a moment to leave a rating and review on whichever platform you're listening and share it. Ratings and reviews let me know that you guys are loving it, and sharing it allows something that you enjoy to be heard and viewed by other people as well. So not only are you helping me, you're helping other people see what you're learning and what's, shaping your ideas, beliefs, and perspectives. It's a cool thing to be part of. And hey, the rebrand is very close. It's not far away, and I'm going to do a whole episode on that. And you may be thinking, why is that important or relevant? Because I've evolved as a person, and the direction that I'm moving in my life is continuing to evolve, much like your life. And I want to make sure that I realign to maintain the passion that I have, but also help serve you guys, my audience, on a much deeper level where you can have transformations that I've personally experienced. That's enough from me. Let's dive into today's episode with awesome guest, Matty Day. Yeah, that's one thing actually, just quick segue, is we were at dinner the other night with Hazley, and he does a lot of auctioneering, and his vocals ran up a bit. And then George, my brother-in-law, had vocal surgery a couple of years ago from nodules. And I'm like, man, I talk all the time on podcasts and all of that sort of stuff, and my voice always hurts. And I don't know whether you notice when you listen to the podcast, but I'm always going like to clear my throat. But he's like, man, you need to warm up. Like before you do podcasts, you should be getting your vocals warmed up. You've got to always have a water bottle with you so it helps with that sort of stuff. And I knew that because I did vocal coaching a couple of years ago. But as with most things that you don't feel like are important, even though they are, I've stopped doing the warm-ups and stuff. And Amy reminded me when we were doing that radio tour, before we'd get to a radio station, she'd be banging out her YouTube warm-up, getting the vocals all ready to sing and stuff. So then when I just saw your glass of water, I was like, water, key, warm-up, key.
Absolutely. Well, that's it. Actually, because I did Toastmaster, we had a workshop on like how to improve your public speaking, and it wasn't by methods of public speaking. It was actually by having the warm-up protocol done, so you can actually allow your voice to resonate, and when you do certain vibrations in your throat, it'll clear out like the gunk that builds up in it that gets in the way of being able to articulate something as clear, or if you mumble a little bit like I know I do sometimes, it helps actually get rid of that.
It's funny,
so
like anything that you want to do well, you should warm up for. Like, it just makes sense. We do it for sport, we do it for the gym, but we don't feel it's important to do in other things. It's like a morning routine, you're warming up for the day, an evening routine, you're warming down from the day. Like, there's so many areas in our life where we could benefit from it.
Yeah, that's it.
But Matty, it's good to have you back on for round 2. We never published round 1, and it's because you and I, we went into detail on so many things, and then when we were speaking after, we're like, I think we could do it better in a bit more clear and concise way. And here we are. But for those who haven't met you before, you're a member of the Academy, so a lot of the blokes have, but we connected last September when we were on the Australian OCR team at the World Champs, which was awesome fun. And then we did the team race together, which was one of the best experiences. Like, we were talking about it on the last potty. Like, I still just remember being in such pain. You guys were injured. I was hurting like insane amounts, but then you're still running in this beautiful landscape, and you're like, this is one of those pinch myself moments where it sucks because it hurts, but it's just so beautiful and picturesque at the same time. So it's cool to be able to experience those moments with you. And also we've built a mateship off the back of that, which is cool. And every time we chat, you blow my mind with some new concept or idea around so many things, from like trauma to why people experience depression, happiness, piecing puzzles together through some of the stuff we'll talk about today. So I'm genuinely excited for this chat. We have a few ideas of where it could go, but as with every good conversation we have, we'll just let it fly out and know there'll be immense value for it.
Absolutely. No, I definitely appreciate having us back on again for that. And that time at Genk was absolutely special there to like firstly know that the work that's been done like with all our sports and everything has gotten us to give us the opportunity to have the chance to race over in Belgium for the OCR World Champs, and then wearing the green and gold as well. Racing out there with you and David, that was definitely one of the highlights of my sporting efforts that I've done. So it's definitely great to have that opportunity there with you and go through that sufferfest there.
The sufferfest is a good way to describe it. But dude, you spent 5 months backpacking around Europe. Can you give us a bit more about that experience? Like, what triggered you to want to go do that, and a few things that you learn about yourself and I guess ideas that you had along the way?
Yeah, so that was coming off the back of being in business for, I was trying to start businesses up as soon as I was out of high school. So 18 onwards, and 32 now. And a lot of time spent trying to build businesses, and had only just sold out of my business only a few months before going overseas, and as well as other personal things that were going on, like just personal life circumstances that go on as well. It was just I was so focused on business and personal challenges that were going on that I never really got the chance to stop and explore the world, like explore what was around like Brisbane and around the world. And the sporting, like we're doing the obstacle course racing and other things like that, let me go off to different areas around Australia and overseas sometimes to go race. And each time I was doing that, I was just really craving wanting to go back. So, when the opportunity came to sell out the business and Nothing in front of me at that time. It was the perfect time to pack up a backpack, not have any plan, and just go with the flow. Because when you're in business, you're trying to be in control all the time. And instead I went overseas, had no idea what the hell I was doing, no plan, had no idea where I was going to have, like, my second destination was going to be. It was just really craving just random experiences. That's all it was doing. Like, and just moments of like joy.
Let's take a quick break.
Are you tired of waking up with a dry mouth, feeling sluggish? I was too, until I discovered the power of mouth taping. I read a book called Breathe, and it opened my eyes to how I could get a better sleep. So I started taping my mouth, and the results were astounding. Not only did I wake up feeling refreshed, but the data on my Whoop suggested I was getting more REM and more deep sleep, which led to me feeling better every morning. But I wanted a better solution, not just sticky tape, something that was effective and comfortable. That is why I co-founded Recover Right with a few friends. We are dedicated to helping Australians get fast and easy access to mouth tape and nose tape so you can breathe better, sleep better, and recover right. Use the discount code TMTCP for 10% off at the checkout. Sleep better with Recover Right.
Was that challenging coming from such a high pressure career, the structure that you had and the responsibility that you had to just go completely the other side? Because as you were saying that, I was thinking about that for myself, and I feel like that is something that I would have definitely struggled with.
I think having at least the experience with doing obstacle course racing and the lessons you learn from it was good preparation, because the sport is designed around manufactured adversity and getting yourself thrown into the unknown. So having that sort of a backing of 5 years of that, being involved with the sport, really helped to make the travel going overseas a lot easier. But it was definitely hard. Like, I think it hit me. It's a weird feeling of knowing that ducking off and leaving all the friends behind, family behind, changing up, going from having that high pressure career, all these sorts of structures in place, and all of a sudden it's just all narrowed down to having a ticket, scanned, jump on a plane, and then go completely elsewhere, was really what pretty much a pivotal turning point in how to force yourself to be different.
Can we talk more about that, like forcing yourself to be different? What does that look like? And when you had the idea of doing that, how did that unfold?
I think with listening to so many podcasts over a lot of time, you just hear different ways in which people think, and how people have explored things differently, or just you take on random concepts or principles or whatever it may be, and you just realize those sorts of things are missing in your life. And one quote that I had was really powerful before I went away, that I really started pondering on, was, as we grow up, we always ask, what do you want to do? But never, who do you want to be? So I was pondering on that for a while before going over. And while I was away as well, I was always thinking, like, who do I want to be? Done this career for so long and pursued business for so long, but really at the end of the day, you could have so many like external looks of success, but it doesn't actually make you be who you want to be at the end of it. It's like I want to be the person having fun, having a good time with my mates, sharing memories, creating memories with people, but business and other challenges were taken away from that. So I wasn't able to be that person. And the chance to go overseas was a great way to have no one around. You can be any version of who you want to be with so many people around you that you may never see again. but you got the chance to just try new things, try different ways to interact with people. You find people that you gel along really well with. Some people, like, I could be with you for a couple of days, but I think the way we want to have fun is going to be completely different. So you get those opportunities there to explore all sorts of things without there's no negative behind that either. It's like, we're just different people, do different things, or we think along the same lines, we have the fun in the same way. Let's just keep doing things together. So, definitely allows for that.
It's interesting where you think about, we are always asked or even encouraged to figure out what we want to do with our life, especially at school. It's like the pressure that I felt at 18, or so 17 when I was finishing school, to know the one thing that I wanted to do with the rest of my life, when I didn't or could not even answer that second question, which is, who do I want to be? It was not a question that I started asking myself till I was around 24, 25 plus years old. And it is a big question. And especially the younger you are, you have less life experience to reference from and gain an understanding around the things that you enjoy doing, the people you enjoy being around, and then the flip side of that, the things that you don't enjoy doing and the people that you don't want to be around. So it can be quite a confronting question. But I do think that it is one of those questions that if you go, I don't have the answer, let's just go figure it out or find it out. And it's why travel is such a great way to do that, because as you said, you get to meet these random people, you get to understand different cultures and perspectives and religions and ways of living that maybe sometimes challenge the way that you see the world and can help you reframe what you enjoy and what you want to, I guess, hold closer to you moving forward. And when you
Absolutely.
start exploring that or embracing those new experiences, it then helps you flip it on its head to go, well, based off the experiences that I've had and who I believe I want to become, this is now what I want to do. And it's only something that as I've gotten older, it's like, I want to still be so heavily involved in sport and fitness-based things, but I didn't think it was like a thing that you could do for a career.
Yeah.
However, it's like we can make money out of anything to support ourselves, but what are we genuinely interested in and why? What meaning does it give our life?
That's it. And I think a really good way to sort of work out how to answer some of those things there is, I learned this one when I got back, but it's the order in which you think about, just a simple order in the information that you're processing there. And that order of like, what do you want to do versus who you want to be? I think it comes in this order here that I learned from someone else. It's the have, do, be. Once I have these things, then I can do these things and then be whatever. Where if you flip that order and you say, I want to be this person and I'll do these things that this person wants to do, and at the end of it, I'll have these experiences, it is a much different way in which you process how you perceive a lot of things. So if you're like, okay, I want to have $1 million and do the things what a millionaire can do, then I'm going to be a millionaire. Versus I'm just going to be a happy, fun person and do things that fun and happy people do and have these memories that a fun and happy person would have. Like, you can work towards doing things in your career that a fun and happy person can do. And like you said, you can do things that will allow you to support your lifestyle, stuff that you're really passionate or interested in. And it really reduces the intensity, I think, in the way you perceive things, which you don't know if you have these things, how to actually navigate to get to that point, or if it actually is going to produce the result that you want. You just hope at the end of it, versus start with just being happy. And it's a hard thing to do just to be happy. It's not an easy thing just to, if you've never put the effort in just to do that. But it's looking at what gets in the way of doing that. What is stopping you from achieving that there? And that's where like people like yourself who are helping in the Men's Academy work towards that are hugely important there. So it takes finding the right people that can help you discover that. If you've never had the experience to learn how to ask the questions, people that have done that work there previously will be the best place to go to actually find the examples of ways in which that can be achieved. And it's not so much you saying this is what you have to do. Is how you can think differently to allow these things to be possible. And it is a trust the process thing. But life's a long time at the end of the day. So you've got a lifetime to learn that lesson. So I don't see why people can't put the effort into that. And I definitely know how hard it is to do that. It's taken me 7 years to get to this point where I am now. But it's like the journey starts with the first steps. So definitely will always encourage people to try and take that route whenever they can.
It's a good distinction there. So I like that. So you're looking at it as have, be, do, or be, do, and have is the flip side of that. And I feel for much of my life, I was have, be, do. You know, when I have this, then I'll be happy. And the goalpost always continued to shift it because as I earned more money, my lifestyle became more expensive. Or as I closed one client, I was then thinking about the next one. And since I've even been over here, it's probably flipped more on the other side because, as you said, it is a lifetime. Like the journey of life can be 100 years if we're lucky. And we are what we repeatedly do. So if we're doing things that make us unhappy, or the perception is that we're not happy doing those things, you're probably going to look back on life with not the most fond memories. But if you can find a way to either shift the perspective to go, okay, what am I enjoying about this? Whether is delayed gratification and it's moving you towards something. For example, for some people, it's the gym. They don't like going, but they do like being healthy. They do like feeling comfortable or confident with their shirt off. For me, I love just going to the gym for the sake of going to the gym. So there's two ways of looking at it, and doing those things make me go, that was a fucking great day and I'm happy right now. So I like that
100%.
That distinction there. So
That's
going
it.
back to the travel, like when you started asking yourself those questions, how or was there a difference between the mindset that you went away with and the mindset that you came back with?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I went away working out what, like, while I was exiting the business, I was still working out what I wanted to do when I got back. And I already sort of had a rough idea. I've been working towards things for quite a long time. And it's a really, really interesting question because I haven't tried to work it down to the mindset there, but it was that same sort of mindset of working out who I want to be and leading with that first. So it was, I think where I'm at the moment is understanding intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So I think I sent you a little while back something about like just the patterns of something about patterns of thinking there, which I've done a bit of discovery with some of the research I've been doing. And what I realized was a lot of the way that, like myself, how I grew up, and I think a lot of other people leading with that, trying to meet expectations, has a root in those first two letters, that EX, which is away from, like to move away from, or not with you. And that pattern of thinking was that EX of expectations, which led into extraction, which led into exploitation, which led into disempowerment there. And it was the realization of where the origins of that sort of came from and how you have those sort of expectations put on you from school. I should say early growing up, and you get told a lot of that same stuff in school, and always trying to, and what all that's doing is setting expectation about you meeting something external from yourself. And then, so the expectations there, something external from yourself, then the extraction is taking time out of your life to achieve that perceived expectation there. And then once you go through that cycle so many times that you keep taking time out of your lifetime, the business is taking resources out of your life and whatever it may be, it led to then like that feeling of being exploited from putting so much effort in there. You're trying to work towards something that in your head is so important, that you feel like that disempowerment at the end of there is like, I've done all this work and I've got not a lot to show for it at the end of the day. You can say, oh, you got $100,000, $1 million, $10 million, whatever it is from a business there, but you got really how you feel inside is completely different. And that's the hardest bit to explain to people. But I think that pattern there is a really powerful thing. And it was learning to shift from, and that was just conditioning that led to that. It wasn't so much you tell yourself, this is how I want to do this. This is just the conditioning that happens throughout your life that I started to realize. And it was learning to go from, and I think the order of thinking was external in. It's always external in with that same, root word of EX. And it's looking to do inside out. So working inside out. Whatever it is going on inside affects how you show up outside. So the mindset definitely shifted from a lot of perceived expectations external to how I felt inside, and wanting to make sure that inside of me was operating at its best. How I was thinking can be more beneficial to myself first and then benefit others. So it's a lot of that shift there has gone from external to internal, which from inside out versus outside in.
It's such a cool thing to think about, because even to this day, I still fall into the trap of thinking I need things outside of myself to achieve a specific goal. And quite often, you're very similar, where it's like we've consumed so much information and content, and we've both built businesses, got great networks. You learn a lot through the fitness stuff that we do, that if you just sit down with a problem, and everyone has problems, we got a list as long as our arm. But if you were just to think about what the most significant problem that is holding you back from a specific outcome, and then you started to write about it or think about it, you would come up with some pretty creative solutions. The problem that I experienced with that in the early days was thinking that I'm not smart enough to have the answers. Like, I have to go get it validated by someone else first before I'm going to start acting on what I think is the right thing to do. And the unfortunate thing about that is maybe, our own experience around beliefs, the experiences that we've had to date are so unique that what gets me to a specific goal will be very different to what it looks like for you. Like, the journeys are always different. So I've increased or experienced so much more success internally and externally over the last 2 years because I've realized that I don't need the external validation. Like, I believe that I've, understand a lot of the things that I want, and I have an idea of how I believe I can get there, and I don't need to validate that with people anymore. I'd rather act and then get that feedback internally to go, okay, it's not working right now. Maybe I do need to, go to talk to a professional or whatever it may be to get that help. But for the first 31 years of my life, it was always like, oh, someone else has the answer for me.
Yeah, that's it. And I think I've got a theory on the origins of that type of thinking there, which I think is a limiting belief that a lot of people share. And you can hear the sort of pattern when you talk to people. If you ask them to, say, come do a 5K run or a 10K run or sign up to do a half marathon, you can normally predict the answer that they'll give a lot of the time. And I think the origin comes down to how the order in which we learn lessons in life, and how, in one way, how schooling actually changes how we learn lessons. If you think of it this way, as we grow up, we get given tests in life that we then learn lessons from. So for example, if your parents say, don't put your hand on the hot stove, what do you know is hot? Like, do you know hot at a young age? Like, it's not until you actually put your hand on the stove and realize, ow, that's hot, and they actually teach you what is hot, that you've actually learned the lesson. So if you think of it this way, you got a little dot. This is where the actual tests happen. There's many lessons that can happen from that one dot. They can explain it all sorts of different ways, and they give you 3, 4, 5 different lessons about hot. They can teach you hot in the moment. They can teach you about hot, cold, all those sorts of things. What objects would be hot, what objects would be cold. So one little incident can have many different meanings. And it's not until something is relevant that you can actually understand the meaning of something. Versus in school, you get given lessons that you then have a test for. So you get a lot of different lessons, but you don't actually know what's going to be relevant for the test at the end. They'll start to narrow it down closer to the exam, but you go from learning a lot of information there that you have to memorize a lot of the time to actually have that test there. And the meaning for that is only relevant to the assignments or the exams that you're doing.
Yeah.
And what you start to then work out there is, okay, it starts broad, goes down narrow to the specifics of the exam or the assignment, and then you get validated from pass, fail, right, wrong, true, false from external people there. And if you repeat that same process, you've got 6 or 7 subjects in high school, for example, 6 or 7 times, well, 6 times 4, 24, I think. Yeah, 24 over a whole year. Repeat that 5 times. It's 120 times throughout high school. Well, I think it's now 6 years now they do. But you got that same process of thinking, that same repeat conditioning happening many, many times. When it comes to a test later on in life where you've got the freedom to think for yourself, you've been conditioned that many times there that you, during that lead up to that exam or the assignment being due, you don't know whether you're going to be right or wrong. So you're sort of conditioning yourself into thinking that 120 times for 5 years about leading into a test, and then come to a challenge later on in life. I feel that that conditioning shows up at a later point in time when, if you ask somebody to come do a 5K run or a 10K run, you can sort of hear the same sort of thinking that they had during that time in school show up in when they're, I guess, confronted with that opportunity for the test. And that's how I think a bit of the origin of that starts to, that's at least my theory behind that origin of that there.
How are you implementing that in your life now? Like now with that theory, are there things that you're doing differently or understanding differently? Obviously there is a different understanding there, but is there any examples?
I think it's I'm really trying to work out how to explain this one different, but I think it's how you're perceiving problems at the time. So if you think about the exam or the assignment, a lot of that stuff's in the future and you're preparing something for future. So what that for me felt like was building up a bit of anxiety towards passing and failing the assignment or the exam and not knowing if it was actually going to be the right thing or the wrong thing. And I was always felt fairly average at everything I was doing except for when it came to technology and sports there actually, that felt pretty average within there. And so that always felt like there was always stuff in the future that I was worried about, where now I've realized that a lot of my skills were problem-based learning, especially from being in IT, in the technology world, diagnosing problems all the time. You're working with a problem in real time and trying to work out how you actually solve that particular problem. So it shifted from thinking about things in the future, problems in the future, potential problems, to bring it, no, this is actually in the moment. And what tools and what resources can you use to solve the problem at the time? And what would you actually need to do to actually, if somebody offered me to come do a 20K trail race, for example, or a half marathon, and how I felt at the moment, I'd work out, okay, if I'm going to do it, what would I actually need to do to actually make it possible to achieve that versus No, I'm not. I haven't trained. Haven't trained anything. Trained for it at the moment, so I'm not ready for it. It's like, no, what can I actually do? So it's shifting the perspective from future to present, and then working how to actually solve that problem moving forward.
Yeah, it's just opening yourself up to be able to experience the new opportunities or outcomes. Because if you automatically shut things down because you don't feel you've learned it, you just take away your resourcefulness. Because no one, for the example that you said, it's like no one gave you a cap on the half marathon. So if it took you 10 hours, technically you could do it in 10 hours. Like you could do a run, walk, like you could break that down, run, walk. What does that look like to be able to do it? If that tickled your fancy. And I think they're both valid though, right? Because I think there's, for me, like, and going back to the start of the conversation, we would then think about who do I want to become? And there's moments where, where I plan a vision or a long-term goal, we'll have that long-term thinking. It's then going, okay, well, I would love these aspects in my life. I would love to still be super active and mobile when I'm in my 70s, 80s. I would love to have the freedom and flexibility to raise a family and not stress about money and have to be, I guess, chained to a desk from 9 to 5. I want to experience travel and all of these things. And when I'm, I guess, thinking long-term about those things, I can then break it down because it can seem quite overwhelming. I remember when I first set a goal to earn $1 million and I was like, it seems like a big jump from the 40 grand that I'm earning at the moment, which it was. But then that's when you sort of bring it back to that short-term thinking, like, and it's not even just short-term thinking and what can I do right now? It's what is the most important thing for me to do right now, like that genuine next step. So for me at that time, it probably would have been, hey, let's just learn to earn, or first identify how you're going to make that money. Is it going to be you're going to go to university and get a CEO C-suite job where you get paid $1 million a year, or is you're going to create something, your own business, and pay yourself that? Like, that's probably the first next logical step. And then you always go, what's the next step that I need to bridge me closer to that? Because all you're doing is presenting new problems that you need to find a solution to. And every solution gives you a little bit more clarity, but also presents more problems. And that's the dance. And the more you're prepared to, I guess, persevere to solve those problems, the closer you're going to get to that longer term outcome.
That's it. And I've, 100% on point with that there. And I think there's different ways there's all different ways in which you can structure that sort of thinking there. And for myself, I follow the system of value guided actions. So, over time, once you do a bit of reflection about identifying where your values lie, for me, they become very core to me. So like my why, my purpose, my beliefs, all those things there become really powerful structures as a foundation for directing where I want to go in life. And I think I see them in the terms of,
your identity, right?
Yeah, it allows you to, I think it goes a bit beyond that and goes more into your authenticity. Your authenticity can become your identity. And if you're living within your values, you're doing action, like I take it as value guided actions. When you're living within your values and you're acting upon those, that is meaningful to you. And when you take meaningful actions there, that shows that authenticity behind whatever you're doing. You're not trying to fit into something. If your values are meaningful to you, it's like what Brene Brown says, the opposite of belonging is fitting in. So if you're trying to fit into something that doesn't quite work, then that's not quite like authentically you. You're going to really struggle, and you're going to try and change yourself to fit into some image there of whatever. It could be a group of people that you've traveled from one city to another, and you're trying to fit into the local crowd of the new place. You meet a whole lot of new people there, and you try and change yourself to fit into there. It takes a lot of work, and it'll take a lot of time to actually achieve that there before you actually belong. But if you're your beliefs and your values and your purpose and everything is a lot more meaningful to you, you'll actually find a sense of belonging with those people that share the same values. There's a lot less effort to actually do those same things together. Like we both obviously value our growth and learning and challenging ourselves with things. So for us to actually have this conversation, it just belong. The conversation just belongs together. So that's where if I just learn a lot of things there, and I can see that you're doing all that growth work, and it's not really a value of mine, but I go, cool, there's this opportunity here that I can talk to somebody who's really smart, knows this stuff, and I can show you how smart I am. I'm going to try and fit my skills to sound like you, and it's not quite authentic. So that's how I can see that there. And so by taking action towards my values, I'll take the example from Simon Sinek's Infinite Game, where values are infinite. Like I'll look at like my health and fitness, joy, intimacy, creativity, curiosity as big parts of my value there. And I'll take simple actions towards that there. And that's just the actions I want to take. I'll work out, okay, is this going to bring me into one of those few things? Sure. And then I'll use that as a filter for the experiences I want to have in life. And then so that's for me is like the foundations there. And then I'll use principles about how to navigate those things when it comes to challenges, or foundational skills like using mental models or frameworks of thinking or lenses there to help navigate those values there. And that becomes a really simple yet powerful way to order my thinking. So for example, when it comes to health and fitness, one principle there is you can't out-exercise a bad diet. Simple as that. You can't out-exercise a bad diet. So I use that to reason with when it comes to nutrition and choosing foods that are healthier about what my body needs. I use that there as my example for how to make the choices about the food and nutrition I have before having the sweets or anything else that are nice to have. Like definitely don't get that out of my diet. But I'll take the things what I need, because if I wanted to shop for the fitness events or the challenges I'm doing, and you're right, nutrition will make those experiences a lot better. So by taking those better actions towards those things, I can actually live better in the moment in those experiences that I'm having, of the things that provide me the most fulfillment.
Gold, absolute gold. I guess there was another thing you said earlier where it was you're taking action towards your values. And in that action, or the event of taking action, that also builds confidence. A lot of people talk about wanting to build their confidence, and there's a difference between self-esteem and confidence. And the way I look at it is like self-esteem is your overall opinion of yourself holistically. Whereas confidence to me is your ability to complete a task or do that a desired skill, for example. So the act of doing to work towards a value increases your confidence in that specific area. And the more areas in your life that you feel confident in, the better self-esteem you have. And so when you obviously establish what those top values would be, you feel pulled to them, right? It doesn't feel like an effort to have to do the things required in order to fulfill those values. Like for me, it's health, it's connection, it's adventure, it's freedom. And the things that I believe I need to act on to make that or fulfill that come naturally. I'm a lot more disciplined to do those things. I think that's where all this interconnectedness starts happening. Still believe there's a large percentage of people, and I could be wrong, and feel free to challenge, that don't want to put in the effort to establish values, to understand personal standards, to create a vision, because it's very hard to make tangible almost. However, at the same time, it is also very easy to make tangible. I think when you think deeper and you ask more specific questions, you make what seems very vague and wish-washy very tangible. And at least that's my experience. And as a result of that, I have been able to, I guess, identify the things that I want to spend more time doing or work towards and the things that I don't. And so I don't feel overwhelmed as much as I used to. My productivity is much better and my overall happiness and fulfillment is a much higher level. And that all started from, I guess, what you just ran through.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I don't think it's the thing that people don't want to do it. I think the trouble is that people have never had the example presented to them. And when you start to understand about how powerful our survival instincts are in our body and mind, that at all times we're always trying to stay in control and stay alive. And when you've lived in a way of being that has allowed you to stay alive and stay safe or be able to control the situations that you're in, being able to change over to something that is so unknown would be really difficult, because you've got the structures in place that have let you stay how you are. So it's nearly that, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's nearly that same sort of thinking there, where it's getting you by at the moment, but it may not be the healthiest thing overall. You might struggle or run into challenges that you just can't overcome. But yeah, there's that way there to make it more tangible there, that which I'm really exploring a lot myself on how to actually explain that in the simplest terms there. That value guide actions is one method there, which I'm working on, which is part of the work I'm doing on at the moment. And I think one thing that is really powerful to understand with that style of thinking change there comes when it comes to working into the unknown, is that I learned this saying was that if you had a crystal ball and you could see yourself in the future, things like depression wouldn't actually exist, because you can actually see yourself showing up in future. And your body's releasing cortisol and all the different stress hormones and whatever else influences you to stay alive in those moments there of stress. It's keeping you in control to help think about the present moment. And if you can't see yourself in the future or can't see past the immediate problems that you've got in front of you, it is very hard to know how you're going to show up in the future. So your focus becomes really down to the problems there, where I think values is a really powerful way to help you see into the future. Of like, I wake up knowing I don't know what I'm actually doing today, but if I know I'm going to take actions towards these values in like health, fitness, fun, adventure, creativity, curiosity, whatever it may be, I know that those are the actions I'm going to do. So tomorrow, I don't know what it actually is specifically, but I know I'm going to take some action towards that, so I can see that for me in the future, I'm going to be doing something along those lines there that's going to lead towards that. And it took a long time to actually learn that lesson. And like you said, it's taking the time to actually ask those questions there about how to reach that, shift that thinking there. But if you can see how you're going to show up in the future, and if it's going to be aligned with your values there, like you said, that it becomes a lot less stressful, a lot less overwhelming. But it takes practice to start to think and align yourself that way. So for me, I know what I'm going to be doing. I don't know the exact details of it, but I know it's going to be aligned with those actions there. And sorry.
You finish.
I was going to say, like, after selling out of my business, having a whole change up of lifestyle, relationships that I've realized how I was showing up in relationships with friends, family, and potential partners was not the healthiest of things, based on experiences that had influences on me that I didn't realize actually were taking a toll, and how actually like this, not having the skills to handle that there going from absolute burnout last year, but still able to have visions of where I wanted to go and what values were still important to me. I was at least able to navigate into the chance of going overseas, to come back, roughly have an idea about what I was doing, and in the space of 12 months, still be aligned with roughly my values. And I feel great and fulfilled still, even though everything that was what was still in front of me, I knew what was coming up with all the work, friends, everything, to not having any of that anymore. I was still back on track after just giving myself the chance to rest, decompress, learn lessons that I didn't have the chance to learn before properly, recover, recuperate, and get myself back into a more revitalized state. And that it was a powerful system there to allow for that.
That's cool. Did you develop a list in the beginning when you, I guess, identified the things that you valued most to be able to go, okay, these are some potential things that I feel will help me fulfill those values? Because I don't know whether it's I don't know whether it is a dumb question or not, because to me now, I have a really good understanding of the things that tick those boxes. However, if I asked myself that before I even knew it was a thing, I think there would have been a bit of friction between me going, okay, I value health or I value adventure, and actually knowing things that I could do to achieve that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is it's taking the time to stop and reflect back and listing out, or just writing a list out of the experiences that you've had.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, and working out, sort of getting that broad list, and then starting to narrow down, like categorizing, starting to categorize roughly what they may be and grouping things together. And then eventually what you try to find is, do these actually belong under a particular value? So I had a lot of difficulty at the start with this. This was working with a psychologist for several weeks to properly get my head around the concept there. But once he started talking a certain way, I started talking about how I just started to do obstacle course racing and doing, and how I'd gone down from, had the chance to I did in 2019. That's when I started doing the sport, and I did Tough Mudder at the start of the year with a couple of mates, and then I signed up to a few more events by myself because I just loved doing it.
Yeah.
It was just that chance to have. It's just a fun sport. Like, love climbing over stuff and get muddy and dirty and all that stuff, and signed up to a few events around Brisbane. And I signed up to the Spartan at the Gold Coast, which I was supposed to do the 5K and the 21K beast. And this was roughly, I think this was right when they had the bushfires, so to postpone the event.
Oh, yeah.
And in that time, I ended up getting a knee injury. So I ended up only doing the 5K race at the Gold Coast, but I was able to transfer my 21K beast down to Brighton, Victoria. And so I signed up to do that down in Victoria, and I signed up to do the 10K as well, to do the super on the same weekend, and gave myself the chance for my knee to heal. It was just a ITB issue, and ended up going down there to do the race. And I did the 10K. My knee was fine, but until the last few K, then it started to really flare up. And I was like, I don't know if I can actually do the 10K, the 20K. It's going to be twice as long, and it was stupidly hard as well. But I still ended up doing that there, and out on course, I was just having the best time, just chatting with people and pushing myself and doing something I'd never done before. And when I took that story, like, I interacted with people and had no idea, knew no one down there as well. But when I took that story back to him, he basically broke that down, saying, in that time while you're having fun is you living within your values there. That's where you find fulfillment out of just the experience of just being in the moment of doing like a fun challenge, and being out and having the adventure that you were having, meeting people, had no idea who you actually meet and you're sort of chatting to, and you may never see them again. You were living within your values there. So what he brought it down to was just having fun and adventure, health and fitness and challenging yourself as those core values there. And we started stacking experiences on top of that there. So when you said before about the self-esteem and confidence, there's that saying, I can't remember who initially said it, but I think I heard it off Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson. And he said, you don't gain confidence by shouting affirmations in the mirror. You gain confidence by having a stack of undeniable proof you are who you say you are. And simply taking those different actions towards things that lie within your value system, you are taking actions towards things that are meaningful to you. And the more you start to stack that up, the more you gain confidence in who you are within those values. And a lot of the people around you can see this guy is an adventurer. I can see, times I've said to people recently, this is like I'm doing a little side hustle, taking people on adventure experiences. And they're like, yeah, I can 100% see you doing that for a long time.
That's so good.
Because I've built up that confidence around how much I love doing adventure experiences, and people can see that. So it's very authentic to me to do that there. And we're building examples on top of that through taking more actions towards things within that value there, challenging myself, doing the fun adventure, and particularly during COVID time, that was all leading into COVID. I was starting to take actions towards those things. And yeah, it really paved the way forward to get to the point where I am now.
That's cool. I think that is so cool. When you think about adopting the belief that I'm healthy, for example, or really leaning into that value, you then start going, okay, well, what's the proof to that point of that quote that you mentioned? The proof or the evidence that I need to prove that I'm healthy. It's not hitting the snooze button. It's not making the poor food choices. It's not skipping, gym or your recovery sessions, whatever the idea of health you have is. It's doing that thing. Same with money, same with relationships. And that's why one thing I always say to clients is like, whatever they're working towards in their business, it's like, you are that. Like if you've got your own business, you are technically the founder. You are the founder and CEO. Even if it's just you and you're a sole trader, treat it like you would if you had 100 people under you. If you're not an athlete, like getting paid for it, you're still an athlete. Like I still consider myself an athlete. So I treat my recovery and my priorities like I'm an athlete, and I'm fit and healthy because of that. And it's no different to any of the things that we do. So then when you go into the next chapter, like you've just said there, people are like, oh yeah, I can see that because that's who you are. That's how you're showing up. We are what we repeatedly do. And if you're constantly the adventure guy, you become the adventure guy.
Yep, that's it.
Can you give us because we've got a couple more minutes. I think we need to do a podcast every 4 weeks for the next couple of months. Because I've got a whole lot of notes here, and we've literally not even moved on to the next segment that I wanted to talk about, which is fine because I think it's cool. We get to unpack them a little bit more in depth rather than scanning over them. So that's good. But the next chapter that you've moved into, like obviously Rewild and Students of Life, helping people, like, can you give us a bit of a chat about that?
Yeah, so the Rewild and Students of Life are two that I'm referring to them as research and education projects. I have no doubt there'll be several businesses that will form under the project as I'm working towards them. But what I'm really working towards is how to help people live and operate at their natural best. So when it comes to back to that thinking of external, right, wrong, true, false, pass, fail, whatever it may be, I don't think there's any one way that is right or wrong. There's ways in which you can live that will, that life is so multi-dimensional, multifaceted, that there's no right or wrong way. It's just understanding that there are ways in which our bodies and our minds can operate, and it's determining which ones are better suited. So that way, for example, you don't run into, like when it comes to handling stress, there's ways in which you can handle stress that it doesn't show up, and helping people finding the ways in which they can handle stress. There's many different ways that can be achieved. Learning to help try different things and then learning lessons from those. So everyone that has ever lived has never grown up as an expert. They've always learnt through life experience, and Students of Life is basically I want to be able to connect with a lot of the experts that have spent their time dedicated to the areas of interest that they've had and drawing in their knowledge and experience that can be structured to help people navigate life itself and learn from other students in life about how to navigate your life. And then in turn, once you've learned how to navigate it, you can pass that on to friends, family, your kids, whoever it may be, right around you, and helping find that those meaningful things in life as well. So it's not so much what to think, it's about how to think. It's the whole give a person a fish and they'll eat for a day, teach a person to fish and they'll feed for life. It's that how to do those things there. And there's a lot of people that know the specifics of the actions that people could take, and it's building that little foundations there that can help. It's a really hard way. It's still in its infancy with explaining it. So it's very vague at the moment. But yeah, I'm building out what I think will be a very powerful research and education project that will help to target many different aspects of life that we need, and helping people that are the experts in those things as well, all aligned together in a sort of a bit more of a unified mission, I guess.
It's exciting. Sorry. It's exciting. I had a little air bubble in my throat then. But that's going to be cool to watch that come to life, man. It's been awesome diving deep on a few of the topics. I think we'll definitely book in another one for 4 weeks' time to dive in. There's some other things around like mental health. You're obviously 4 years without drinking, and business stuff that I want to pick your brains about as well. So we might as well record that.
Yep. I'll have to do that.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks very much, Lachlan. I'll say as well, I was going to say first, sorry. I was going to say, yeah, really appreciate the time there that you've done for allowing me to come back on, and also for the work that you do with, especially within the Strong Man of Value and the Man That Can project there. Sitting back, listening to a lot of the stories and examples that you provide, it is a very daunting, and I can tell that you put a lot of effort into looking at so many examples in your life about where things have been challenging, but learning how to transform that into something educational for other people is huge. And just want to say, I think, and guess on behalf of everyone, whoever listens to the podcast or the work that you do with all the people in the Academy as well, thank you very much for the time that you put into firstly bettering yourself and then passing that experience on to other people there. It's very, it's a very powerful and very inspiring thing that you do.
I appreciate it, man. That means a lot. So it's always nice to hear that. And for everyone who's enjoyed this episode, I will have Matt's social media links in the show notes, so you can go reach out to him and have a yarn as well. And if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you share it and definitely hit the subscribe button, because Matty will be back on in about 4 weeks' time. If I can lock him down, no, it'd be good. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.